Hey everyone, it's Roya Bagheri again. Really excited to start segment 2 with you all. In this segment, we're going to learn all about getting an ITIN and an EIN, about business bank accounts and the process for obtaining those, about permits specific to food businesses, and then about insurance options. So first off, we're going to talk about an ITIN number and everything that Tanya just talked about in terms of starting a business. You're going to need a social security number, or if you don't have a social security number or unable to actually obtain one, you have the option of getting an individual taxpayer identification number, which is an ITIN, and it is something that's issued by the IRS for those that can't get that SSN for reasons or another, and it's specific for federal tax reporting, so it doesn't authorize work in the U.S., but work authorization is not required to live in to earn a living as a business owner in the US. And IRS code 6130 actually makes it illegal for the IRS to disclose information obtained from taxes or an ITIN application to other federal agencies, including immigration. So the nice part is that they have been pretty good about maintaining confidentiality in the past, but there is still going to be, a risk associated with it. But in terms of actually obtaining, the ITIN, what it does, it allows individuals to report their earnings to the IRS, open, a bank account, conduct business in the US. It can be used to obtain that business identity entity and hire employees. And so you're basically going to need one or another to get going with your business. Either you need that SSN or an ITIN number. And so in order to actually get an ITIN, the most common way is to do it by mail. And so that requires the taxpayer to complete the W-7 income tax return form and mail it in with certified copies of documents proving your identity and foreign nationality status to the IRS. And then they're going to review that, within 10 weeks, and they'll then return all of those original supporting documents that you've mailed in. And then it's going to be processed within 6 to 8 weeks. You actually do have 2 other options for doing it in person, if that's something that you're interested in. And all of that information is available on the IRS website. And so, now that we've gone over how to get your ITIN, or, if you have your social security number, how are you going to go about obtaining your employer identification number? And that is a unique number that's assigned to a business entity. And that way it's easily identified by the IRS. It's commonly used by employers for the purpose of reporting taxes. And it's, a federal tax identification number for your business. And so they must be used by business entities, the corporations, partnerships, LLCs. They're not required for sole proprietorships or freelance workers, independent contractors, but they are in fact highly recommended. So why is that? That's because it helps you file business taxes, avoid tax penalties. It can help prevent identity theft. It can really add credibility. So if you're working with other groups, having that EIN number, it'll speed up business loan applications. It's a component of obtaining and opening a business bank account. It'll build trust with vendors, establish business credit. You can easily hire employees, and you'll just get a lot more options as an overseas entrepreneur if that's your status. So once you have your EIN in hand and you're looking to how am I going to open up a business bank account, what are the benefits of opening that business bank account? Because as Tanya mentioned before, if you're a sole proprietor, it can potentially mingle your accounts, what comes into it. So if you are to actually open it, you're going to get protection. It's limited personal liability protection, personal purchase protection for customers. Then there's that added level of professionalism. So you can pay with a specific business credit card and have checks that are specific to your business. And then also employees can handle, day-to-day banking tasks in that way. And also, just in terms of preparedness, you can get a line of credit for the company. If there's emergencies, you need unexpected expenses or new equipment, you'll have larger purchasing power. So if you have startup purchases, and you can also then start building up a credit history for your business. And overall, it just helps you make sure that you're not intermingling. And when it comes down to, your budgeting and everything, you have everything in a very specific pot that you can look into. So when you're choosing a bank account, The rates, fees, options, those are all going to vary. So, we recommend that you shop around for the lowest fees, the best benefits. A lot of the times they'll have introductory offers, different interest rates for savings and checkings, interest rates for lines of credit, transaction fees, early termination fees, minimum account balances. So oftentimes, as a first step, you can go to whoever you personally bank with and see what are the options that they give you for, a business bank account, and compare that to some other offers. And in terms of documents, if you are getting your documents together, you can go online or go to your local, branch to actually begin the process. But some of the common documents that they're going to ask you for is that EIN number, or, SSN or ITIN if you're a sole proprietorship. They'll ask you maybe for some business formation documents, ownership agreements, your business license to make sure that, you have what you need to operate legally. So those are things that you can look towards taking. So in terms of just licenses, permits, things like that, the next thing we really want to get into are what are the different food permits. So you all in cohort 1 are coming from a very diverse background. All of you are micro food entrepreneurs. And so whether you are a brick and mortar restaurant and you have a type of food facility permit, or, potentially you could be a cottage food operator, and cottage food operators are broken down into, that permit is a class A and a class B. Basically class A means that you can sell shelf stable, baked goods from your home and you can sell it to the public. If you have a class B permit, the health department is going to come in and actually inspect your kitchen. And once they do that, then not only is your cap in terms of how much you can make higher, but on top of that, you can also sell wholesale. So you can sell to, like, let's say a coffee shop, your baked goods, things like that. So to retailers in addition to just the public. And then we have the micro enterprise home kitchen operation. So for those of you that don't know, that creates a new type of food facility that allows you to legally cook most types of foods out of your home kitchen. That also requires an element of the Department of Environmental Health coming in and inspecting your home, your kitchen, to make sure you have everything that's needed. And then there are the temporary food facility permits. So if you're trying to, sell at a certified farmers market or temporary pop-up events, then the permit that you're looking for is that temporary food facility. And then there are a whole bunch of different classifications of mobile food facilities. So for example, if you're a food truck, there's, a very specific process that you have to follow there. Then you could be a food cart with preparation. So like hot dogs, for example, a food cart with prepackaged items. So those are, ice cream items, things that are already, clearly packaged. And then also, as of January 1st, there's going to be a new type of mobile food facility that's called a compact mobile food operation. And that was actually passed very recently and signed by the governor according to SB 972. And just as a kind of aside, we'll go into more detail about a lot of these based on what people are asking for. So if you remember, we do have a workshop towards the end that is kind of a pick your own. And so we do have connections at the County Department of Environmental Health who would be willing to come in and give a presentation, or we can get into more detail. So I know a lot of you might have questions about SB 972 and what it does. For example, another component of that is that you could use a micro enterprise home kitchen operation or a cottage food operation as a commissary for mobile food vending. So you can be a street vendor that uses the MEKHO as your commissary instead of, commercial kitchen. And then another major type of food permit is a catering permit. And then kind of all of these that I've gone over, from restaurant, cottage food, MEKHO, catering, etc. These are all food permits that you're going to have to go and get directly through the County of San Diego's Department of Environmental Health. We have that phone number there. They have a really comprehensive website that has this all laid out. But then another type of permit that we've heard a lot of you ask questions about is a processed food registration permits. So that's, for example, if you want to prepare and sell like frozen goods or goods that are going to be sold in a in a grocery store, for example. And that's something that you're going to have to get that permit through the California Department of Public Health. And so, in future workshops, we can kind of get into more detail about this if it's something you all are interested in, but this is kind of a brief overview of the different types of food permit categories that are available. So what are some of the other permits that you're going to need to get to operate your business in addition to that, like one of those food permits that we just discussed? You're going to need a seller's permit, and that'll be from the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. You're also going to need a business license, and that's in some cities like San Diego, referred to as a business tax certificate. And so for whatever city you're going to be operating in, you will need that business license. And then there might be other city-specific permits that you might need to get. So for example, in San Diego, you're going to need to get a separate city mobile food truck permit or a separate sidewalk vending permit. So that's another thing that you'll look into to see, do you need a city-specific permit? Like with a cottage food operation or MEKHO, you don't need one of these, but like I said, sidewalk vending is its own category that the city does issue permits for. And then an ABC permit. So that's an alcohol beverage control. If you're a caterer wanting to work with alcohol, if you're a restaurant wanting to have alcohol, that's an entirely separate permit that you would get through the ABC. It has its own, wait times and lottery system and things like that, and ways of doing it that we can go into if you all are interested in. And then other things that you should consider are, if you're going to have employees or family members that will be working with you, if they need to get a food handler card or a food manager certification. A lot of those, health department permits that we just discussed will require you to have that food manager certification already. But, if as a part of getting that permit, but if there's anything else, definitely look into who else might need to actually get that food handler or certification. So kind of taking another step towards now insurance. So once you have your permits, so you're going to be thinking about how can I actually, mitigate risk, protect myself. And as Tanya already mentioned, there are some business entities that have, protections in place, but insurance is always something that you should consider. It's a system of protection which reimburses people and businesses when their wealth or property is damaged. So, there'll be a premium that you pay. That's the amount that you pay for insurance. And then there's a deductible. So the amount of loss or damage you agree to cover before insurance then comes and pays the claim. So, if you have a lower deductible, then you might have a higher premium. If you have a higher deductible, you might have a lower premium. So a lot of things to consider. And there are a number of different types of insurance to think about. So there's product liability, business income, errors and omissions, key person life insurance, automobile insurance, workers' compensation if you have employees, disability, commercial fleet, property, general liability. And kind of on this slide, we get into what are the different types of insurance types, who's it for, what does it do? General liability insurance is for any business. It covers against financial losses, bodily injury, things like that. Product liability insurance is, particularly important for food businesses. If you're selling food, it protects against financial loss, as a result of like foodborne illness or such. Professional liability insurance, if you are, as a part of your business model, offering cooking classes, for example, this coverage can protect against financial loss as a result of, negligence or errors, or if someone comes back and says, they followed your instructions and something happened. And then, there's commercial property insurance. If you're like operating your business out of your home, there's home-based insurance. There's business owners policies. So there's a lot of different coverage options. And so this probably sounds like a lot, but it's definitely something to think about, considering some types of businesses do require insurance as a part of your, business to even operate, restaurants, food trucks, whereas, other food businesses don't have mandatory insurance requirements. So like MEKHOs, to operate a MEKHO cottage food, it's not, mandated that you need this insurance, but it is strongly encouraged for all businesses, especially businesses, involving food, whereas there is that risk of foodborne illness. So, if you are operating as a sole proprietor, then they wouldn't be able to come after you, personally come after, your home or a continued livelihood. So to kind of make things a little bit, easier for you, there is actual insurance providers that are specific to food that you can look into, and it will cover all of the things that you need specific to your type of food business. So one of those is the food liability insurance program that we know a lot of people do end up using. So it's open to bakers, baked goods, catering, commercial kitchens, cottage food, MEKHOs, all of these different types of options. And it does go over all of the different coverage options that you get as a part of it, and is specifically designed for your type of food industry, micro food business. And so those plans start at $299 per year and are kind of changed based on what it is that you're operating as. There are other insurance options to consider too. So Thimble food vendor insurance is another one that we have seen provide insurance to MEKHOs and other types of food vendors. Your homeowner's insurance, if you're a homeowner, is someone that you should definitely talk to, seeing if you can extend that homeowner's insurance to also cover your small business or your MEKHO, if that's something that you're doing. Or if you have a rental or auto insurance provider that you've been working with and have existing relationships, we recommend that you reach out to them to see what they can do to provide discounted bundled options. And anyways, that is the conclusion of this segment on insurance. And so if you have any other questions on it, please feel free to reach out to us. And these are all things that you should consider as you're continuing along your process. So I'm going to turn it back over to Tanya now for the next segment. Thanks.